Are you ready to take action to attain the lifestyle of your dreams?
It's a great way to make a lot of money fast.
Hey there, Clever Investors. Welcome back to the Clever Investor Show. I'm your lucky host, Cody Sperber, the OG Clever Investor. And today we are still on the road. I feel like this has been the theme of the day. We're going strong here at the Mastermind here in Palm Beach. And today we have the amazing Anthony Morrison here in my room. in my room. We're hanging out in my room.
Oh my God.
If you guys don't know Anthony, I'm super excited to introduce you to him because he is a very successful entrepreneur, one of the best direct response marketers in the world. He is a TV personality. He also is a real estate investor and has some really cool stuff coming out. He's done a really good job pairing like internet skills and internet marketing skills with real estate. And we'll kind of peel back a little bit of that onion and just talk. This whole podcast is all about making money, multiplying your money, and making your money matter. You know, and you built a great legacy. You have a phenomenal brand, and I'm pretty sure this is the second podcast you've ever been on publicly.
Right.
For being a big TV guy, you're pretty quiet. Like you're
Cody, I suck at social media. I need tell me when you have somebody that has a social media personality on here that teach me this stuff. I'm just not any good at it.
Yeah, I don't know how that is.
The TV
dude.
and the ads,
you killed it. So, dude, your rise to prominence was like really in the early 2000s. You kind of bulldogged your way onto the scene, just being scrappy, right? You know, I got to know you and your brother over the years, and we've even done some stuff together, which we can maybe talk about on this podcast because it's funny. People don't know. I don't think I've ever talked about our show.
Yeah, when we filmed you an infomercial.
My completely horrible infomercial that never saw the light of day. But you know, there's some lessons in that for sure that we can unpack. So anyway, for people that don't know you, like a little background. You and your brother, you guys are out of Mississippi. What is why Mississippi? What the heck's going on with Mississippi?
We were born there. I mean, hell,
and you just never left.
Where I born.
Normally, don't people try to leave Mississippi?
They do. A lot more leave than come in. But I figured, you know, like, look, Mississippi's not that bad. There's not a ton to do, but there's also a lot of time to focus on your craft, like whatever it is that you're trying to do to win in life, right? You don't get a lot of distractions. My first book was called The Hidden Millionaire. And the reason that I titled it The Hidden Millionaire is because I kind of felt like I'm hiding from all of the distractions in life. I'm hiding in Mississippi. I'm just focused on my work, my business, growing my brand, doing my thing. And I kind of stay away from all the distractions.
So your productivity and time management hack has moved to Mississippi.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't have to move. It was a simple, simple thing for me. I was born into it.
See, I know this guy. Like, the dude's super successful, has made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars per year, and he's got a private jet. And whenever he wants to go to dinner, he just jumps in the jet and leaves Mississippi, eats dinner, and then flies back.
I mean, but here's the thing: it's all about just kind of prioritize. You know what you prioritize. Like we prioritize having our home. You've seen it. I mean, it's
spectacular.
It's something that would be ridiculous if I was in Scottsdale or California. But being in Mississippi, I can have some of these things. I can't go to the greatest restaurants down the street and football games and baseball games. We can fly to those things. So, I mean,
it just makes sense.
Look, it works for me. It's worked for me. Right. So I'm trying not to fix it because it's not broken.
So how did you make your bajillion? So like here you are, you're chilling in Mississippi and you're like, you know what? I got a plan.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to make a fortune. There's this thing called the internet.
That's right. None of that actually happened. I honestly, man, I've told you this before. I was going to medical school. Like that was my thing. I was going to be a doctor. I had no desire to be in this world at all. I didn't even know anything about this world. But, life throws you curveballs. Things happen. And, ultimately, we talk about this all the time. Like your greatest successes happen in your worst moments. And it's how you react in those worst moments that really put you on the path to success or, obviously, failure. And so for me, it was my dad lost his life savings in WorldCom. This was back in the early 2000s, right? 2006, I think, around there. He was a real estate investor. He owned apartment complexes, sold them all, retired, had plenty of money. He invested in WorldCom. 24 hours later, greatest accounting scandal in American history announced, lost his life savings, which was tough for me, to watch I was just at the age where I could understand what was happening, at 20, 22 years old. Like you fully understand when something like that happens. But it was also just so young. I didn't know what to do about it. There wasn't a whole lot I could do, And so my dad wanted me to keep going to school, and so I couldn't get a job, just a regular job to try to help them. So I got online. I was like, man, there's got to be this internet. I'd sold some car parts, when I was a teenager, made some money for my car on there. I was like, there's got to be a way that I can make some money and still go to school. And that's really what started my whole journey was to keep my parents in their home. That was really my goal, was just don't let my parents lose their house. And so I started my first business. Somehow it was just massively successful,
What were you doing?
The very first one was I went to something I knew and understood. It was Mustangs. I started selling car parts for Mustangs, because that was the car that I understood. That was the car that I knew. I knew where the buyers were because I was one of them, And I started selling these car parts. I quickly built that up to $250,000 a month in sales. We were making a ton of money, but 20 years ago, people shopped online. They didn't buy online. It was almost like it was just a catalog, but I'm going to call before I buy, because this may not be legit, right? So I was taking...
You forget, like, people were scared to put their credit card in the internet.
100%. So, like, we would do $250,000 a month. I would say, I don't have the exact data on this right now, but probably 80% of that was on the telephone. They didn't want to put it in online. So I had 2 cell phones. Both of them had call waiting. And what I had to do was, so that I could still go to school, still be in class, all these things, I had to memorize the entire catalog of parts, what they cost me and what I sell them for every single model of Mustang. So that when I got a phone call and I was in class, I could walk out the door, had a notepad with me.
Oh, that's
I could
funny.
take the order, go back in class, right? And I lived life like that for 3 or 4 years of just nonstop, always attached to my phone in order to take orders. Because every dollar I made I always saw it as a dollar that my family didn't have to worry about. So I never missed calls. And I took orders I had a customer in Australia that would call me at 3:00 in the morning. So every single week I was up at 3:00 in the morning taking orders for this company. So it was a grind. And once I'd learned the marketing side behind that, I said, man, there's got to be a better way than this. Like, this is great. We're making money. Family's okay now. But I got to find a better way. And I found affiliate marketing. And I became one of the top marketers for every bank in the United States when I was 22, 23.
For every bank?
Yeah. So if you got a credit card online, you probably got it through one of my websites. I was referring to American Express, HBSC, Advanta, Chase, Citibank. So I was an affiliate for credit cards. So if you got a credit card, I got paid. And once I built that up to $300,000 or $400,000 or $300,000 a month, I'll never forget this. I went into this e-commerce site. None of you should ever do this, by the way. This is a terrible mistake. I went into this site and I clicked. It literally had an on-off button. Like now they call it publish, unpublish. Yeah. I just clicked off, and it was the greatest day of my life because it meant no more phone calls, no more orders, no more tied to the phone, 100 calls a day, having a notepad in my pocket everywhere I went. No more can't get in the swimming pool on vacation, can't go to a movie theater because it blocks the phone calls. Like freedom.
I already see where this is going though.
But I didn't sell it. Where it was going is I should have sold it. Yeah. It was doing, $2.5 million a year. I was so young, I didn't realize it was a sellable asset, Yeah. But I was so excited that I could move away from that and into something that was easier. And I started doing this affiliate marketing, made a lot of money with it, taught.
Now, did somebody turn you on to the credit card thing? Like,
no.
How did you discover that?
I needed a credit card. I went online and I typed in, credit card, and all these websites came up that were not the bank. It wasn't American Express's website. It was some other website. And I'm like, what the hell is this?
It was like,
Why is-
great, you know,
Yeah, like, it was like-
creditcardreviews.com.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
why, what is this? So it just intrigued me why I was not seeing Amex. And so I started looking into it and I realized there was this thing called affiliate. And I'm like, man, people will pay you to get a credit card. So the first thing I did
Everybody
was,
needs a credit card.
I
It's a
signed
wide
up.
audience.
dude, I signed up for the affiliate program and then I went and applied for 8 credit cards. And I was like, damn, man, I'll make $400 just applying for these credit cards for myself. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And so I thought credit cards, are free. You can apply for them. Some have annual fees, but a lot don't, especially back then. And people always have more than one. And there's like an infinite number of customers. There's new people going to school.
So is that still a thing, you think?
It's still a massive thing. Yeah, there's still people doing great with it. I'll tell you, the only reason that I don't do it anymore is I learned another really good lesson. I always learn my lessons the hard way. I think
Yeah, me too.
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's why I'm single right now.
Well,
some guys just get ran over before they finally learn a lesson.
I got run over pretty good in business. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I've been massively successful, but I've learned my lessons the hard way. I figured out how to market credit cards in a way that no one else knew. And it was the very best way to market credit cards. So we have a few minutes. I'll tell you real quick what it was.
Yeah.
All right. So, and this applies to any type of product online. This is why this baffles me that people have not thought about this. All these banks and other companies, they send direct mail to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't just blanket the world with direct mail. Most every time you get mail from a credit card company, it says, hey, Cody, you're pre-approved for whatever, Citibank card. We'll just use that, for example. Or let's use Discover, a Discover credit card, right? They didn't just randomly pick you out of thin air. Like they have data somewhere that says, there's a good chance that you'll probably get approved for this credit card, right? Maybe not, but probably. So it's worth the money to send you that direct mail. Here's what they didn't realize is that the only way they could track that, like the results from their mailing, was when you got that mail, instead of them sending you to discovercard.com to get your card that you're pre-approved for, they put a URL in there called the number 4 card.com or thecardforyou.com with the number 4 in it.
Yeah.
Made no sense. Had nothing to do with Discover credit card, had nothing to do with the Discover brand at all, right? Completely off brand. But everybody that got that mail, they went and put that URL into the Google search bar, not into the web browser to go to the website. They were searching for
So they can look up.
the card for you because they don't know the difference. Most people don't know the difference. They get a URL, they put it into Google, right? And then they just click on the first thing that comes up. Well, when you're marketing on Google with keywords, as you know, everybody's got it. They're all using the same keywords.
Yeah.
Discover card, Discover credit card, Discover student card.
But not
you would
the
never think of
card for you.
the card for you as having anything to do with Discover whatsoever. But I knew that because it was in my mail. So I basically was buying junk mail from around the entire country on Craigslist just to get the URLs that were in the mail because they were changing them across
This
the
is a
region.
freaking brilliant strategy right there. I'm thinking about
It's unbelievable, and it still happens today, and people still don't utilize this strategy today.
Yeah, because it's way cheaper
Because
to buy
no competition.
traffic for the card for you.
Well, think about this. A, it cost me like 10 cents a click instead of $3. And B, it's all the most targeted people that Discover thought were going to get approved. So it's not the person that has terrible, shitty credit that went to discovercard.com and applied and is not going to get approved. It's people that they themselves targeted as potential approved applicants. So once I built up like a massive amount of these URLs from all the different banks, I was able to spend $20,000 a month on pay-per-click ads and make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. And it was just like clockwork. But the lesson is in keeping your mouth shut, because I was so excited that I figured this out. I had an affiliate manager at this company, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, man, what the hell are you doing? Like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, oh, dude, it's simple. Let me show you. 2 days later, email goes out to the entire affiliate base. Hey, new strategy figured out to market credit cards. Get your junk mail. Now all of a sudden
expensive.
there's no value in it
Yeah.
anymore because now there's 1,000 people trying to do it, right?
So
Instead of just a few.
Do you think they're still doing that?
Yeah, I still see it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, people still do it, but it's like anything else in life. You know, you learn as you go. So I learned, keep your mouth shut when it comes to these types of things. Don't
All
be
right.
so
So
excited.
your credit card slinging days are now
over. They're
are
over.
behind you. How did you get to a point where you were like, you know what? I want to do an infomercial.
Well, it was while I was doing marketing credit cards. I taught my brother to do it. He made $1 million. I taught my good friend in college. The two of us were always studied together, and he asked me what I was doing. I bought this Dodge Viper, and he's like, "Man, how'd you get this car?" And I said, "Simple. Let me show you." And so I taught him how to do it. He made $1 million. He was working at his dad's suit store, and went from that to making $1 million. And so all these people were making money. To the point where people were driving by my parents' house and putting checks in the mailbox for me to try to get me to teach them, right, how to do this. And so I thought, man, I could teach a lot of people how to do it. I didn't understand the info world, like sell your knowledge, but what I did know and understand was affiliate networks. And I thought, man, if I could build a system where I could have Cody go promote credit cards, but I got a piece of every single approval that you did. You got paid $45, I got paid $50, so I keep $5 more. I can make a ton of money. And so I built this credit card system, and I wanted to teach. I wanted to get it out there, right? I wanted to sell it. So what I did was I called QVC and I said, hey, I have built this really awesome thing. It is really epic. I've got a book that teaches people how to do it. I've got a platform that shows them how to do it. I want to come on QVC and I want to sell it. And they were just like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, they're just like, are
They
you
ever even sold anything like that on QVC?
They're like, what is this? They just hung up on me.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So they're not going to do it. So what do I do? So I went to Mississippi Public Broadcasting Studios. I filmed my own show. I put it on television, and I went around the country and I did seminars and I taught people how to do it. That was my first infomercials. I just guessed my way through it,
You're on public broadcasting.
Just literally just went on. I went to their studio, filmed an infomercial. I ran it in states all across the country. We went. I showed people how to do this, taught them how to do it, did the whole thing. But I was on the road. I was in a bus for 45 weeks out of the year doing that. And eventually I just got tired of it. And I said, if I could just put this all into a book, put it online, and sell it on TV without me having to go to the cities and do seminars, this would be great. And that's when I kind of found Dean and their group, and I filmed the infomercial where we, ended up selling 1 million copies or so of our book.
Dude, unbelievable story.
Just kind of
it's funny.
steps.
It's funny how many people sabotage their own potential when they look out and they go, well, I don't know anybody in the infomercial space. I don't know anybody in the event space. I don't know anybody in the marketing space. I'm never going to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. And you're like, QVC, hello. And they're hanging up on you and you're like, all right.
So let's do it
I saw Bob Ross painting on this weird channel. I'm going to call them and see if I can buy some airtime.
Look, man, I'd never even been to a seminar. I did my first seminar. It was the first one I've ever been to. It was the first one I didn't know how to do a seminar. I used what I thought intuitively was the right thing. Like, this is how it should be done. And it worked. Same thing with infomercials. I never watched infomercials. I didn't practice my infomercial. I didn't have a script or a pitch or teleprompters or anything. I just sat down, did my thing, and was done, and it worked. So, it's just a lot of it was less about, I think what a lot of marketers have a hard time with is they get so wrapped up in what is the copy, what is the hook, what is the this, what is the that the end result is something that isn't authentic. And I think that people can feel that. People can sense that, especially in a camera, right? Especially on a television. And I think what I was good at, especially in my early 20s, was being completely raw and just authentic. I hadn't been taught what it should be like. So it was just however I felt like it should be. And that, I think, is what made people believe what I was saying. That's what made me connect with people, whether it was in an event or on television. I would venture to say, look, I've had a lot of success since then, but I think I was better then than I am now because I've just been taught so much now, right? I'm so entangled with, marketers and marketing and copy and all of the things that even my brain, when I'm filming something is going through, hey, you got to get to the hook, or you got to get to the call to action, or you got to do this, or you got to do that. And I think you lose some of your authenticity when you do that.
So when that started scaling and you were like, oh my God, we got a winner. First off, how long did it take before, like, you film an infomercial, you partnered with Dean Graziosi, and you have this kind of machine now that you're plugging into. You film it, you start testing and running it. How long before it hit the air, before you actually started making money? Was it like immediate, or did it take a while?
No, it's quite, the infomercial world, especially when you're scaling, when it's a winner, you're spending a lot of money and trying to get the model to catch up with the spend and the scale, right? Because if I spend $10,000 on media this week, right, and I spend 20 next week, and I spend 30 the next week, and I spend 50 the next week, like, I'm always spending more than I'm making, right? So it was a little stressful for me at first, because I didn't know, right? But I was lucky. I had good partners. I had a conversation with Dean. I'll never forget. I was in a taxi driving to the airport, or riding to the airport in New York City, and I was probably $250,000 deep in this show. Like, it was running, but it was negative, And I was on the phone with him, and he said, listen, he said, the numbers don't lie. The model is there. Dean had done this before. Mm-hmm. He said, when this thing flips, when we get to the point where it flips, he's like, you're going to make life-changing money. He's like, it'll never be the same for you again. And he said, just trust the model. And I understand that you have good partners, and we know what we're doing. And I didn't know. I knew how to film the show. I knew how to sell my book. I didn't know anything about an infomercial,
So that's what you're selling on the infomercial, is a book that led to a phone call to buy the book. And then...
Yeah. And then we had, obviously we had, different coaching programs and different, membership sites and things like that to teach people affiliate marketing. And it took probably, Cody, I think it probably took 4 to 6 months of negative, just feeding the model. But when it flipped, and it finally flipped, it was just insane. We scaled it, like I said, well over $100 million in sales, and a million copies of our books.
And up until then, you were making some money, but nothing like this. This is now you're on the rocket ship.
Yeah, it's a different level. Yeah.
Yeah. And would you say TV buyers are different than internet buyers?
Yeah, 100%. There's nothing. It's it's funny because we pay to be there, right? Mm-hmm. But no one saw it that way. We filmed the show as an interview, just like this. So even though that show ran every day, every night, all night, people would come to me like, I watch your show every night. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, why? Like, it's the same show every single night, But it's people are enamored with what they, you're on the television. Yeah. And it's the same way today. If you get somebody that is on TV, they get so much more attention, credibility, clout, whatever you want to call it, than you get being a social media influencer. You see all these influencers. You know a lot. You know a lot more than I do. But you see these people have 9 million followers, and they can't sell anything. They make no money, right? Yeah. They measure their success in the number of likes that they have. That's just never been my model. Like, I measure my success, or the success of our businesses, in the number of books we've sold, right? Like, the number of things that people, they heard our story, they heard what we were doing, they saw what we could help them with, and they felt so strongly about it. They said, here, I want to buy this, and I want to learn this. Like, that's the measure of success in business.
So when you started making some serious moolah, were you like, oh boy, what was the first stupid thing you purchased? First fun thing.
Didn't I tell you this the other night?
Yeah, no, that's why I'm pulling it out of you. I want them to enjoy this, because this is some classic Cody Sperber shit. I literally did the same thing. So
this, you know what it is? This reminds me. This literally is Cody Sperber shit right here. I can see you doing this. Yep. I got my first check. I think it was on a Monday or Tuesday. This check came in, and it was like my first profit from the show, right? And there's this exotic car dealership in Arkansas. It's called Elite Autos. You should look them up. They're phenomenal. They have just amazing cars. And they had this green Lamborghini convertible. And I got Josh in my office, one of my good friends that works with me. I was like, let's go. We literally got in the car. We drove to Arkansas, and I bought this green Lamborghini and drove my ass home. And I'm talking like, I don't even know that the check had time to clear the bank before I was in Arkansas buying this Lamborghini. So probably wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done. Your
parents are probably like, what the hell are you doing?
Dad was like, you haven't even made back all the money you've put into it yet. I'm like, yeah, but look, this is profit this week. I didn't have to give them any money. I'm like, yo, this is exciting. Let's buy a car. You know, and I will say I still have that problem with the buying of the cars, but
you do got some dope cars.
I wouldn't suggest that everybody spend their first profit on a Lamborghini. That was probably not the smartest.
Yeah,
I was young.
The whole point of my show is to teach people how to invest in assets.
Well, this is a great part then. Invest in a depreciating asset, that I didn't even know I could write off at the time. So it's just like, hey, let's just buy this car and waste this money. But it was fun. So,
there you go.
I mean, I had a little fun with it.
Yeah. So what are some wild things that happen when you're scaling a business to $100 million, $200 million, $250,
So many of our listeners reach out and they ask us how they can get involved in my actual real estate deals. Our investment firm specializes in finding deeply discounted properties, acquiring them, renovating, stabilizing both single-family and multifamily properties all over the United States. That's why we're so excited to share with you clevercapitalfund.com. Now, if you have some investment capital and you want to deploy it and receive double-digit returns backed by real estate, then visit our website and see which fund is right for you. We have both equity funds and we have debt funds where you just get paid out every month like clockwork. All you got to do is visit www.clevercapitalfund.com today to learn more.
Do you even know what's going on as the business is scaling? Because you're like more on the front end, and then you got these partners that are running the back end, and like
I learned. I've always been the type of person that I like to learn everything about my whole business, and I like to know how all of it works, how all of it operates, why it works the way it works. I've always felt like if I know how to do everything, then nobody can ever really screw me over, right? Because I can just step in and do the thing that they quit doing or the thing that they did wrong or whatever. So I learned the whole model, and it was crazy. I mean, we had 200 plus salespeople on the telephones, working on our account. We had operations. I mean, we just had hundreds of. All of a sudden, I went from kid in Mississippi that was trying to get on, QVC to sell my stuff to I got, 300 people working on my account just like that overnight, And then not only do you have the craziness of the business side of it, but when you're on television, and especially when you're on television talking about, hey, I did this thing to make this money, and this is what saved my family from this problem, which is 100% true. But what you don't realize, and I think I learned this at a very early point in business, and it's helped me to do a better job of what I've done over the last 10 years. You don't realize how many people are going through that same thing right now in this country. Like, you think it's you and only you, and maybe there's a handful of people, but it's not. It's hundreds, it's thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people. And so what I wasn't expecting is getting on there, just telling my story, and people gravitating to me so much because they felt like I could help them. I could solve the problem. So it's like, you have celebrities that when they go into a hotel and people recognize them, it's, oh my gosh, a celebrity, let me get an autograph, right? With me, it was like I walked in and it was like I was the savior. If they saw me, they're like, oh my God.
You're helping me.
Yes, I have to tell you my life story. I have to tell you how terrible it is, and I need you to help me right now because you helped your parents. And I'm like, well, that's why I wrote the book. But people, you already know this. They don't want the long way. They want the shortcut, And so it was this strange time in my life where I
kind of famous, like especially probably Mississippi.
I mean, well, less in Mississippi and more everywhere else. I think people in Mississippi don't give a shit. They're like, I'm not watching that stupid kid on that show. But like everywhere else I went, man, it was like every taxi I got in, every restaurant I went to. I mean, I was in Cabo with my whole family walking down the marina there where all the restaurants are. And some lady comes just barreling out of one of those restaurants. My mom like had a heart attack, screaming my name in another country, right?
Yeah.
Because she recognized me. It was just such a scale on television.
How much were you spending? Like at the peak?
I mean, sometimes $500,000 a week. But when you think about $500,000 a week, like we spend that kind of money on Facebook ads now, right? And Facebook is noise, right? You spend that $500,000, but there's a massive amount of noise there. In other words, there's a million other ads running, posts going on, all kinds of stuff, right? It's not focused attention. When you spend $500,000 on
TV,
television for a 30-minute spot, and people are watching a 30-minute, you don't have an ad that's 30 minutes long, like a 30-minute spot, it's a different level of attention and obviously of people recognizing you. And that was part I didn't really love about the TV process. I didn't love that I'd be eating dinner and people would be filming me, from the table next to me. Like it wasn't my jam,
Yeah.
Some people love attention. I did not love that attention, I love to sell the books, but I just didn't like all the attention from it.
And I kind of already know the answer to this, but do you think infomercial right now, maybe in the real estate space, would work?
Oh God,
I'm teeing you up, bro.
Literally, you just set the whole thing. Yes, I absolutely do. I think, especially right now, I think people are seeing so many ads online, so many posts from influencers, so much of what we see online now, people know, they're smart now. They know, they're educated. This is an ad, right? That it's like I said, it's just it's full of marketers constantly. I think there's an opportunity now to go back to TV where a lot of that slowed down. You don't see as much of that on television anymore because people have found, hey, there's a path of least resistance. I can just put an ad on Facebook, right? I don't have to figure this TV thing out. So last year, my friend Tarek El Moussa, it's HGTV's everything, man. He's been on there for a
longest
decade.
running
like
reality
crazy.
show,
Yeah, I mean,
real estate celebrity ever.
Yeah, I mean, he had Flip or Flop, and then he had the Flipping 101, and now he has a show with his wife Heather, Flipping El Moussa's.
We've had him on the show, the Clever Investor Show. He's been here. They did a great job.
It's phenomenal. He's just done such a great job. I was talking with him about this commercial real estate thing I'm doing, and I was like, man, I'm going to write a book on it. And he's like, well, let's do it together. And I said, yeah, let's do it together. So now we have an infomercial that actually comes out in a week or so.
So probably it's our, if we are probably 2-3 weeks out from releasing this, it'll be out.
Then it'll be out. Yeah.
So, and is that a long form infomercial, short form?
This one's going to be short form. We're going to test the 60 to 90 second spots with more frequency, but shorter, shorter spots. If it doesn't work, we'll go to 30-minute, but it's to sell a book called The Digital Advantage. So it's teaching people how to combine basic, simple internet strategies with real estate.
Yeah.
Because no one does this. You're a real estate guy. You've taken all of your real estate knowledge or all of your internet knowledge, and you built a great company, teaching people real estate.
Mm-hmm.
But what have you done with your marketing ability to make money in real estate?
Yeah, a ton. I have, but I'm unique.
Like,
I'm a
you're
a freaking unicorn.
Yeah, but like very few people, when you ask them that question,
They have no clue.
they don't. And it's because I think real estate's an old school game. There's a lot of people that are playing it the same way.
Especially in commercial. If you guys are focusing on commercial, I've never seen it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's and that's look, we've figured out how to lease up self-storage spaces all online, or how to rent up that, how to lease commercial strip centers all online. How to do it with flex space. So like there's strategies that we can use where we can beat even like the big REITs, they can't pay the same money I can pay for a self-storage facility because they are going to use the same old strategies to rent it up, and they predict it's going to take 7 years. I can come in and do it in 7 months. And so I win, right? I can pay more because I'm going to get it stabilized faster. And so the strategies in this book teach people how this is done because it's basic stuff. It's not even hard.
That's cool. What does it cost to put something like this together and get it out and test?
Like an infomercial?
Yeah, like what you're doing with Tark.
The one with Tark, probably $100,000.
Okay,
50,
so
100,000.
obviously you got to, unless you're the authority in the infomercial, you need about 100 G's.
Yeah, pretty much.
Put it all together, edit it, go buy the test media, understand the back end.
Most of that's test media. So you could, you could film it, edit it, cut it, have it ready to go for, 30, 40 grand.
Yeah.
But then you want to have some money to test, right? Because just like with online, I think we were talking about this the other day, like TV it's a wide net. We can't target just people that are interested in commercial real estate that might also want to do, and you can't do all that. It's just put it on television and hope and pray,
Yeah.
So you got to pick. The only thing you can do is really adjust channels, right? What avatar is on this channel, Fox.
But are you
CNBC.
filming multiple versions?
Yeah. So we'll have and especially in a unique case like Tark's, right? Tark has a massive following on
he's pretty
HGTV.
famous.
So, I mean, the guy's got an incredible brand. He's an incredible person, good human, and we know that people like him. And so our HGTV spot is different than all the others, right? Because it's
smart.
more towards his fans. Whereas like a CNBC spot, a Fox spot, or whatever, that's going to be more like analytical, speaking in the spot on investing in real estate and all that stuff. So a little bit of
I was just curious, just
spots.
because we're kind of unpacking like things that most people never get an opportunity to do. As a marketer, I nerd out on stuff like that because I'm like, we tried to do an infomercial.
Yes, we
years
did.
ago.
We did.
I got approached years ago by a guy that we both mutually knew, and he said, "Cody, you're one of the best creative real estate investors I know. You're also a great marketer. You're great on camera. You're approachable. Like, would you want to do an infomercial?" And I had no idea if I wanted to or not. I thought about it for a couple weeks, and I was like, "Who's behind it?" And he said, "This guy, Anthony Morrison, and he did hundreds of millions of dollars on his infomercial, and he's very successful, and he knows the model, and he's really great at it." And I said, "Well, how does it work?" And he goes, "I have no idea." He goes, "Just we need you out in Florida, and we're going to film some stuff, and he'll tell you what to do." We had never really spent any dang time together.
None.
It was a great story because I've never told it. But I show up in Florida, no clue what I'm doing, and get thrown into. Have you ever done anything where you just get thrown into something and you have no clue what's happening? I'm an analytical person. I need a little bit of time to internalize. Like when I hear you talk, you're like an empath. You're very like you feel like where the conversation needs to go, like really smoothly. And you just read the room, read the audience, download from God, whatever you do. And then you're like, boom, I know what to say and how to say it. For me, if it was Cody today, we'd probably murder the infomercial. It'd be so fun. But back then I needed time and I didn't know what I was doing. And what I didn't know is that a lot of times, because you don't know if it's going to work or not, you don't go pre-write the book. You don't go pre-create all the assets. I at that time in my career, I was pre-creating everything in my life. So by the time I'm done creating it, I knew it so well that I've internalized it.
Yeah.
But imagine somebody handing you a book, right? And this is what's funny. This is like the secrets behind the sauce. They hand you a book and it's got your face on it. And it says, the Real Estate Millionaire Secrets by Cody Sperber. I'm like, oh shit, we got this book? Like I open it up, it's a Walt Disney book.
Walt Disney book.
And I'm like, what the heck is this? And I'm like, they're like, hold it up and sell it. And I'm like, sell what? And they're like, sell your book. And I'm like, I haven't wrote a book. Like, what's the book? And they're like, dude,
right there on the cover.
We're going to write the book. Yeah. You're going to write the great book. Like everything's going to be great with the book. Real estate, just sell what you would have wrote in the book as if it's real. I had such a mental blockage with that concept.
Yep.
I felt so disconnected from it. And we did this whole full day shoot. Was it 2 days or 1 day? I don't even remember.
It was
2 days. It's a 2 day shoot with a live studio audience.
Yes.
So imagine you're in a studio with a bunch of strangers. They're all staring at you. And they're like, ready, action. And this lady, Forbes Riley, would go, all right, well, Cody Sperber, you are one of the greatest real estate investors in the country. You have changed the game for a lot of people. Explain to our audience what this is. What's all the fanfare about this brand new book that you have that's teaching people how to get wealthy in real estate? And I'm like, well, Forbes, let me show you my new book, and I'm like holding up a book that has nothing in it. Oh my God.
Like, let me tell you what's on page
like,
73 here.
Just a complete implosion. I'm rambling in circles and all this stuff. And I could just see like Anthony and everybody like pacing around like, this guy is awful. Like, what is going on right now? This is horrible. And I'm feeling the heat. I'm sweating profusely. And there was the funniest part about the whole story is I had, a bunch of successful students that I've worked with. Lots of them have quit their jobs, gone off and used my tactics and made a ton of money. So social proof wasn't hard. A lot of them flew. I think we had like 8 or 9 people that had flown out to film this infomercial for me. And these are wonderful human beings, but they have never been on TV either.
Right.
And so this one guy named Don,
oh God,
just a gem of a human being. He was one of my earliest, most successful students. Well, he's a bigger guy. And so when he shows up on day 2, he's wearing like khaki, like shorts and big white tennis shoes with the socks with the crinkles in them. Like he's just a heavyset guy. So picture just a big guy with a polo on, tucked into like khaki shorts with like high, when we start filming the testimonial scene, Forbes is interviewing each one of our testimonials. When Don sat down, his shorts rode up and his balls popped out the bottom of them. And so me and Shannon are sitting over in the studio audience and I had an earpiece in and I look at Shannon and I'm like, it looks like Don's balls are about to pop out. And all of a sudden he sat down and his shorts rode up and his full massive ball sack pops out the bottom of his shorts. And I'm looking at it and I'm tapping Shannon. I'm like, Shannon, Don's balls are hanging out. And they go, ready, record. And they start filming his testimonial and his ball sack is hanging out. And I'm tapping Shannon and I got this earpiece in and I'm like, studio upstairs, abort mission. Don's balls are hanging out. Don's balls are hanging out. And they rolled through the whole thing and he had no idea. Afterwards, I'm like, Don, we got to get you in a different pair of shorts, bro. We got to reshoot all of that.
Yeah, you can't have your balls hanging out on TV. They won't approve it for any network. So it's always fun.
The lesson and the blessing in this experience, Anthony, and I've told you this like at dinner last night, is just sometimes we step into our fears. And I was scared to death. I was scared flying there. I was scared doing it. I didn't know what I was doing. It was very uncomfortable for me. I know real estate like the back of my hand. Why couldn't I just pitch and sell with authority like I do in the rest of my stuff? But there was something that felt inauthentic about, I had a blockage about the book not being written and a blockage about not being prepared. When I left that and I watched it run, we tested it.
Yeah, we did. We tested it.
It ran and it did not do well. And I never even knew the real numbers because it only ran like 2 or 3 times. And then we pulled it and that was it. I'm sure I got 1 phone call.
There were a couple, I think.
Yeah, 3 phone calls. And I made a promise to myself because I ruminated on that failure for months. And I made a promise to myself that I never, ever not be prepared to show up and turn it on. And it forced me to step my game up in such a massive way. I probably tripled the revenue in my education business after that event. Because I promised myself, I will never not be good at explaining how this game has changed my life and how powerful it actually can be. I don't need the words written in a fucking book. Right. I know this shit. This is me. I live, eat, breathe it. And that's your magic. Yeah, you love it so much and you loved it. Helped my best friend and it helped my brother and it helped. So you believed in it so much.
Right.
Why did I not?
Because again, I think we're taught, if I recall correctly, you had somebody that was like a speaker coach or some kind of a coach person.
I did. I hired a coach. That's another thing. I hired somebody to help me because I was scared because I had never done an infomercial. And this person said, I will coach you to get
this prepared. Was problem number 1. Because they're coaching you to be who they think you should be, right? Instead of you just being who you are. They're giving you answers to questions. And so then when we ask the question, you're sitting there going through your head like, okay, what did my coach say? What did he tell me I'm supposed to say? I'm going to fuck this up and say the wrong thing. I can't do that. I got to do what the coach says. And then everybody can tell that you don't know what the fuck you're saying because you're over here thinking about it, right? Or if you just are again authentic, as provided again obviously that you actually know the shit that you're selling and that you're telling people you can do, right? That's the number 1 prerequisite is you must also actually be good at the thing and know the thing, right? But if you do, then there's really nobody that's going to teach you how to sell it better than you could just sell it yourself, right? And that's the biggest thing that I try. I have so many people ask me, well, how do I do this webinar? How do I do this infomercial? How do I do this thing? Well, what's the best pitch structure? All of that shit doesn't even matter. If you can get on and tell your story, because stories are what sell, right? So if you can tell your story in a way that makes people connect with you and want to be A, closer to you, and B, taught by you, you can sell anything. Doesn't fucking matter if it's this water glass. But what happens is people overanalyze it. They hire coaches.
Yep.
The coaches are not on television selling anything. They saw to tell you something. So they've decided that somehow they're an authority. For what? I don't know. Because I don't see them selling shit except how to teach you how to sell, right? And I think that was the biggest thing that caused you so much trouble was you had this person over here telling you all the shit you were supposed to say. And then you have all the knowledge over here, but you can't access it because you're too busy thinking of all this stuff. And not to say that coaches are bad for everybody or anything like that. I just think that when you know your subject matter and you know what you're talking about and you have a good story, you don't need somebody to tell you how to share that with people.
So true.
And I think that if more people would just do them instead of who other people tell them to be, they'd be more successful.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I didn't even, until you said that, I didn't even connect that dot.
It's just, it gets you out of sync, like that's why, look, when I did infomercials, never watched one, never practiced it, never had a script, didn't have a bullet point. I didn't have shit. I walked in, I sat down, I met Mark Victor Hansen, the Chicken Soup for the Soul and everything else. Yeah. Wonderful person.
We've had him on the show too.
Like, I met him. I met him for the first time when I sat down to be interviewed. Literally the first time. I didn't even know who he was. No clue who the guy was. And I sat down to be interviewed with him. When I filmed my first infomercial for our seminars, it was one take. Like one take. That's it. I didn't have a script and a teleprompter and a coach and make sure you hit this point, make sure you hit that point, make sure you say this shit. Those were my most successful things I've ever done. One take, absolutely no preparation, because I already knew what it was I needed to say, And I think that as we get wrapped up into the marketing world, we're taught that we have to prepare. We have to do our webinar 73 times before we can be successful. We have to.
My latest one right now, my AI real estate system.com.
There you go. Good plug.
AI real estate system.com. One take. And it was, it's my highest converting webinar. And I'm running it on Webinar Fuel, which is your software system.
The reason why it's always comes back to me is why it's successful. I don't know how to help you with that. I mean, look.
To come full circle though, hey, we're making money together. Hey, we're finally making some money together.
It's just been a few years, but it works. And that's just it. One take and you've got your most successful webinar probably ever.
By far. I mean, and we're just getting it going. And one, it works. Two, AI is a super unfair advantage. But I'm so passionate about it right now for what it's doing to my business. I learned my lesson from the other failures that I was like, just get me in front of the camera and also get me in front of a real audience. I shot it. I invited as many people in my ecosystem as possible. I said, guys, you're going to watch me film this thing. I want you to be a part of it. I want the interactions to be real. I want the questions to be real. I want the energy to be real. Like, just come and support me. And a couple thousand people showed up and we murdered it. And my team was like, do you want to redo it? I'm like, nope, that's it. Run it.
You just want to drop it into Webinar Fuel.
Yeah, I did. And by the way, Anthony is a very, very smart marketer. And as he was marketing, he was struggling with technology. There's different ways to make money as a marketer. So, you could do videos, you can do what's called a VSL, a video sales letter. You could do a webinar. And you've been on my webinars probably, or maybe even some of his webinars. So. You've made so much money on webinars. Like
webinars became the infomercial.
Yeah, you came off of that. And
because it was the longest chunk of time, that I could keep somebody's attention. And I was really excited about it because it gave us the ability to capture that audience for an hour and a half or 2 hours, not just 30 minutes like on TV. And so when we ended the shows and we went back to doing or went to doing, webinars. We'd not done anything really online to sell our education. Man, that was the most exciting thing for me, because I was like, oh my God, I don't have to be on TV. Nobody has to know who I am.
Do it from the comfort of my own home.
Nobody's going to film me in the restaurants anymore. I can still make sales. This is the greatest thing ever. But what I found was it wasn't automated. TV's automated. You buy the spot, it runs. I can be asleep, it's still running. Webinars were like, I had to be there, and I had to be doing them. And I wanted my time back. I didn't want to be in a business where I traded time for money.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. I was basically just trading time for money. And then there's the pull, right? Like, if you can do a webinar and make $100,000, right, in 2 hours, then you're always going to be drawn and pulled. Man, I need to do another webinar. I need to do another webinar. So what I did was I basically, for the lack of better terminology, I damn near abandoned my marriage. I just said, screw it. I need to be doing these webinars, I can tell you I was a terrible boyfriend, fiance, husband for quite some time. Not because I was interested in other people or anything. I was just you got to remember, you're always a product of your past, right? And until you close that loop, until you look back and figure out why the past has made you who you are today, and then you realize what parts of that you need to let go of, it'll always dictate the decisions you make. It'll always dictate the path you travel. And so for me, watching my dad lose all that money, I just had this internal, didn't matter how much money I had, I needed more. I was like, man, I watched my dad lose millions of dollars. I watched him go from super successful to broke overnight, and you can tell it's still something hard for me to talk about.
Yeah.
And, it's 20 years, 30 years later.
Emotional.
Yeah, it's years and years later. So it's something that still drives me, like to do the things I do. And I realized when kind of like my wife was like, yo, like, you need to like also be a husband, you also need to be like a partner. You can't just do this all your life. It was kind of like the come to Jesus talk. And I kind of worked that out internally. I realized like, okay, I gotta have some time for me. Like, I gotta have some time for my wife, or have a family. I just had a kid last year at 39 years old, and my second one's due here in like 3 weeks. So 40 years old. I let so much time go by because I was so focused on making money, and it required me to be there to do it. And so I really, out of necessity for me, I built a better platform to automate webinars so that I could still do the thing that made me all the money, but I could also be on the beach with my wife and with my kids. And that's what drove me to build that platform. And it works, and it works great. And it's allowed me to have a lot more freedom, and I don't trade my time for money. Like you said, this is my second podcast. I don't if it's not required, I'm probably going to be at home.
It was great too, because last night you wanted so badly. We had some time off from the mastermind that we're at. You're like texting your pilot, like, can we fly home right now so I can spend some time with my family, with my kids, and then fly back? But because of the storms here in Florida, you didn't do it. But
priorities.
I love that you have that as a priority, family as a priority, and I use your platform. It's significantly better than anything else out there. If you are a marketer and you're running webinars, you absolutely should automate them. Even if you I still love to do the live webinars, but then I also love the automated webinars because it does give your time back. I'll put a link down below for Webinar Fuel. Go check that out. It's one of the pieces of technology that allows me to dominate in my education business. And I really love it. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I'm saying it because it's better.
Yeah.
It's just better. It's a better technology than anything else. And I've done a little over $100 million online so far since I started in 2010. And anything that allows me to scale back my minutes is brilliant.
Yeah. And I mean, even if it's not like, hey, I want to spend more time with my family. Maybe you don't, maybe you're 22 years old, 23 years old, you don't have family, but it gives you time to invest in other parts of your business. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we have this many hours in a day, and we always have more tasks and more things that we need to be doing than we have hours to do them. And so if we can automate portions of our business, it it allows us, it buys back that time, gives back that time that you can spend on something else in your business that's going to help you grow, right? It's very difficult to be doing the webinar, running the traffic for the webinar, handling the fulfillment.
And you shouldn't be doing
things.
anything you can't scale anyway. Like scaling is the whole thing. Like if you're just kind of like settling and just kind of like floating along like this and like, oh, I just do a webinar every Thursday and I'm good. It's like, okay, well then you're settling.
Yeah.
You know, and at some point your competition is going to run all over you.
That's right. And they will. And then you won't be there anymore.
Yeah,
so you've got to always be trying to scale up to a level where you are dominating the thing that you do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a couple of other auto webinar platforms that have been around for a decade, you know, and in my opinion, they've sucked for a decade. And so it's the reason why I couldn't just use somebody else's. I had to
built
make
a
my
better
own.
mousetrap.
But in the last 2 years, we've completely dominated that industry, right? We didn't just settle for, hey, let me get a little bit of it. Hey, let me, do decent. Like we take all of the clients, but it's because we built something better. And we know when we go into something, we're going to win. We're not going to just play the game a little bit. We're going to play the game as best we can, and we're going to go to the top. It's funny, Dean's team was interviewing me earlier today, and they said, what did you realistically, did you think you'd be here at this mastermind for the top 10 when you started promoting? I was like, what was your goal? What the fuck are you talking about? Number one. The fuck? What? Who has a goal? I want to be 10th. Who the fuck wakes up and says, hey, I am going to be third place today?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like this people think this shit?
That's a weird question.
So like, I mean, it makes no sense to me, but the thing is some people are okay with that. They're like cool with, okay, I'm fourth place. All right, I'm sixth place. All right, I got a little bit. Like you need to always want to be number one, and you need to always scale to be number one, and you need to put yourself in position to be able to do that.
And if there's people listening to this that they're going, that's not how I feel. I don't operate like that.
Well,
you got to fucking really do an audit on your belief system around what it is that how you roll through life.
Well, it just doesn't make sense.
Setting the worst standard.
Yeah, it makes no sense. If you're going to spend your time
I want
to
be the most unhealthy.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. Like, be the best that you can be. And it's not just in your business, it's in everything. Like I told you, I mean, this, I was 130 pounds 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, you're looking beefy, dude.
Like,
what's going on?
Getting there.
Are we competing?
Trying to be as big as Clever Investor. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Got a little ways to go. Yeah. But I mean, I've spent the last 2.5 years, I dove in on my health. I was like, you know what? I want to be healthy. I've already made all this money. I've got all this success. The one thing I've sucked at is taking care of myself. And so I changed my mindset around that. And I'm like, every day I'm like driven to be number one in my head, in my health. Like, I don't miss the gym. Saw you in there today. Vacation, I'm still in the gym. I eat meal prep. Like, I changed my whole way of life to be the very best that I can when it comes to my health. And if you don't do that, then why the hell are you even doing it at all? Like, why would I do it to try to just be a little healthier? Yeah,
that's why I love you.
Makes no sense.
I gravitate towards people that are gunning though. I've eliminated a lot of people that I just look at and I'm just like, man, you're not only setting the worst standard, you're what's the right word? Like, your energy is bringing me down.
Yeah.
Like, I want people to lift me up. I want people to excite me. I want to look at you and go, damn, dude, he's absolutely murdering it on webinars. I got to do better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You want people that push you to do better than you're doing right now. So you realize, keeps you in check. You realize, I'm not at the top of the game yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, speaking of top of the game, I am the number one affiliate here in the game. We're just going to let that ride on here. I'm not even, listen, this has been a great show.
It has been a great show.
We're going to go ahead and wind it down right now.
I want to make sure that we're all very clear.
Definitely number one.
We're all very clear that I was in the bed, almost dead, with 104-degree fever and COVID for 2 solid weeks. I was unable to do actual webinars in order to promote this product. And I still, I think, was third place. So third or fourth or something, had I been able to do that, the likely result would have been that I would have been number one. Yeah. But we'll give you your credit for now. What? It's short-lived, but
everybody's got excuses.
They do,
a lot of people out there that live life full of shit, full of excuses. I got COVID.
The second launch that we promoted.
I'm dying.
I'm just saying, the second launch that we promoted together, I said, hey,
oh shit,
I'm going to win this.
Yeah.
And then I won this. Just so we're clear, I did win it.
Landslide. It was off.
By like
I wasn't
10x,
even close.
Literally 10x, I think.
I
So I'm just saying, we'll see what happens.
Can a brother just get a win?
Yeah.
Damn. Can I just get a win?
So we're one.
You're one of the best marketers in the world. Can I just get a win?
We're 1-1.
All
The
right.
next is the next launch. I think what we should do is we should both promote Webinar Fuel.
Okay.
And see who wins.
That's not fair. You got a competitive advantage.
No, I want you to win. I win either way. I think we should do that, and we'll see. We'll break the tie.
There you go. All right, dude. I ask a lot of guests this when we're kind of winding down. If you could go back and talk to your 13-year-old self, just kind of give you a little pep talk, knowing what you know now. Like you've seen the end result. Wonderful family. You got the health thing on point. You're making a killing in my
13-year-old self.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the hell I was doing at 13. Like my 13-year-old self.
Yeah. Well, go to 14.
17-year-old self. My 18-year-old self when I was making bad choices.
Were you?
Not really, but I mean, I would assume there would be worse than the 13. I think honestly, man, I have been somehow, I would say just lucky, like my intuition. I've always been able to, there's very few times where I look back and I'm like, shit, I made the wrong choice there. I made the wrong decision. And I think it's because I think that even at a young age, I thought shit through. Like I didn't just randomly make like emotional decisions, like most teenagers do. Like, oh, my friends are doing this, let me go do it. I was very logical. It's always been that way. And so I thought a lot of things through, right? I think for me, if I could change one thing, I would probably go back and tell myself, and it may not be my 13-year-old self, it'd probably be my 20-year-old self, that I should have my kids earlier. Like, has nothing to do with marketing. I don't think I've had I can't think of one thing that I would change in my little journey through business.
And why do you say that? What is it? What came up for you once you did become a dad?
And 40 years old and I do the math. Like you're like, okay, well, live to be 70, the average age, 75, whatever, you got 35 years. And I think for me, it was never really it wasn't a priority for me, but it is now. So that's probably the biggest mistake that I made. Love my little girl. Probably wouldn't have had her if I had one at 20, but I can see the value in the time, and I waited a long time. My dad waited a long time. My dad was older. And so I kind of saw like older dad my whole life, and so it's like, oh, this is the way that you do it, and my wife kept telling me, she kept saying like, yeah, we should have kids earlier. But I was too focused on winning, the money game. And I didn't think about like the life game. It was only the one. And so I think maybe the biggest mistake I've made is focus so much on winning just one game and not all of them, right?
Yeah.
Life's different games. You got so many different lanes that you're in. And I've done great in all the other ones, I think. And I'm, like I said, I wouldn't change anything. There's nothing I really could change. But man, if I could get back, another 10 years with my kids, like I'd give up all the fucking money.
Yeah.
All that I made in the last 10 years. So it wasn't really that important to me, when you put it in perspective. And so I think I could have done a better job with that. I could have made better choices. But I'm happy with the kids I got now, and I'm thankful that I got, healthy one and another one on the way that's, gonna probably wreck all my sleep in the next couple of weeks. But we got 30 years, and that's why I said like I made a choice when I had kids, like I'm saying no to everything except them. And so that's why for me it's like everything has to be automated or I don't care. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't matter to me,
Well, you're saying something that a lot of young men, you might be saving a lot of young men that will fall into that trap because we are so focused on achievement.
Yep.
And especially if you have like a hunter mindset and you're kind of that alpha, like you're like, man, I know I could do this. I know I can excel at it. I'm going to give everything I got to this thing. And we talk about it a lot on this podcast, just what you have to give up to win.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you do realize that some of those things you thought you had to give up, you didn't.
Right. Could have done
You
both.
justified it. It's just a story, man. It's just like you really buy into this belief, this, this Gary V almost work hard and sacrifice everything and dominate. And I was like that for many years, and I hid a lot of my pain and achievement.
Yeah. And it's not about look, you can still be number one without grinding 24 hours a day, right? So it's not like it's not like we say, like, God, I wish I would have just been okay with being sixth, or not being number one in this space because I would have had more time.
That's not what you're saying.
No, it's I could have had both. I just didn't know it.
Yeah. Some of my favorite people are like Pace Morby, who was here, and Laura Morby. They have done a great job integrating the family into the mission. I watch them operate and I'm like, oh, that's what I should have done more of. I did a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wish I would have 10x that and just been like, you know what, Shannon, kids, like this is a family business. We're all diving in. This, like, I actually liked escaping to work. I found like that was like the thing I could control. I couldn't control my marriage. I couldn't control the kids. I couldn't control how I felt being in certain situations outside of work. But at work, I controlled everything, and it just felt safer for me. My anxiety went down and all that stuff. I look back now and I'm like, you fucking moron. Dude, if you would have just done it right, and some of my friends are great examples of it, and I'm like, wow, they really done a good job integrating the family into it, or just learning to say no to a lot of the stuff that really didn't matter and tripled down on the things that really moved the needles.
Right. We get into this it's like you have to say yes because everybody else you see is saying yes, and it just eats your time. And I think I thought, man, every minute counts in order for me to win in this business thing. What I didn't realize was I could have had both. I could have spent the time with my kids. You did. You had kids and look where you're at. Yeah. I was of the mentality that if I have kids, if I do this thing, like they're going to suck me away from my business. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to grow. I'm not going to be able to scale. And I look back at that and I realized, like, damn, I was stupid. Like I would have been right where I'm at today. Like,
maybe even further along.
Yeah.
Kids motivate the shit out of you to do better. Yeah.
I mean, maybe more, but I would have had 10 more years, It's a
real man is more than just a provider.
Yeah. Well, I've learned all these new things having kids, man. Like I've only had kids 15 months and
plus the daughter's a game changer.
And like you just learn more about yourself. I think in a lot of ways it makes me it definitely makes me a better person, but it makes me a more focused person because when I do take time away from her, I'm extremely focused on what it is I need to be doing because I know what I'm giving up in order to do it, right? So I get a lot more done in that 2 hours than I would have done.
Look at you. You're just like the king of productivity hacks.
I mean, look, just have a kid.
Move to Mississippi.
You'll make more money and you'll have more time and your life will just infinitely be greater. And if you move to Mississippi,
simple formula: go on TV, have a successful infomercial, sell hundreds and hundreds of millions, invest in the right assets, write best-selling books, create killer software that dominates the industry. Where the link will be down in the description down below.
And don't make mistakes. Have your kids early in life. Yeah. Don't watch social media. It lies to you.
Dude, I'm glad that you came on. I know you're hesitant to do these kind of things, but I had a little bit of your time, Anthony, and thank you for that. This has been a great conversation. I think people will get a lot of value from this on different angles. And if they want to follow you around the interwebs, how do they find you?
Oh, God. I mean, I don't even know all my social media.
Yes, you do.
I think it's just...
Is it just...
At Anthony Morrison. Instagram.
Is it just a bunch of kid pics and meal prep pics?
Yeah, basically you're going to be bored as hell. Like you're going to see my kids and maybe every once in a while some kind of little marketing message. But I don't understand the social media game, man. I suck at it. So, but I do my best.
Webinar Fuel, AnthonyMorrison.com and at Anthony Morrison.
There you go.
I'll be your pitch man.
Just follow me.
Just look, dude. Just put me on stage. I'll authentically pitch for you.
If you could do that, that'd be great.
All right, guys. We really appreciate you. If you got some value from this awesome episode, make sure you subscribe to the show and maybe share it with another entrepreneur or a friend that will also get some value from it. That's all we ask. We don't have sponsors or anything on this show, so. The way you can give back is just share it with some other people and make sure you subscribe. Until next time, we're out of here. Take care, comb your hair. Peace.
Hey, Cody Sperber, the original Clever Investor, host of the Clever Investor Show podcast, and I'm shooting this ad right now to let you know that this podcast exists. It's finally out, and we have some amazing guests. So please, I'm begging you, can you just come and give our podcast a listen? I've been doing real estate for a really long time. I've accessed some of the coolest people in the world. We were having all these amazing conversations, and I'm like, what are we doing? Let's record this and actually put it out on a podcast. But the problem is, I have to let people know about it. That's where this ad comes in, and this is where you come in. You're gonna be able to learn from successful entrepreneurs, get in-depth interviews from amazing leading experts. You're gonna learn real estate investing strategies and tactical trading strategies that work in today's market. We're going over market analysis and different market predictions. You're gonna be able to engage in an awesome community. And we go into some pretty deep dives on the mindset of what it takes to win the game of money and in life, plus lots of bonus resources and exclusive content. So what you're gonna wanna do right now is click the link that you see on your screen and give the show a subscribe today. We have amazing guests like Ken McElroy and Robert Kiyosaki and Wes Watson and Pace Morby and Jamil Damji and Vina Jetty and a whole host of amazing men and women entrepreneurs that you're gonna love to learn from and get to know. So what you wanna do right now is click that link and give the show a subscribe today.